Nigerians are expected to seek out the best.
2 words to describe the activity. The Yoruba Unity Forum is conducted.
Be the first to know from the north, south, east, west, and around Africa.
Presidential
We break the news.
Women in Nigeria.
Now you can catch all the actions live as the news breaks. We are Core TV News.
Welcome to Core TV Primetime
Our
News.
24-hour news station.
Thank you for joining us now. It's a discussion segment now. And of course, like I told you earlier from the beginning of the show, that we'll be having a presidential candidate in the house there. But we apologize. I would like to apologize because we're coming back a little bit later after that long break. But it's all for good. Our guest is now in the house, and we'll be taking a look at issues and some of the things happening now. State of the nation ahead of the February election. Now, joining us to talk about this now, he's Martins Onovo, National Conscience Party presidential candidate. Thank you for joining us on Call Ajesseswa this morning.
Thank you very much.
And you look great. And this looks like you're really, really prepared for the coming election.
Well, we've been preparing for a while, so we think we have done what we're supposed to do.
But let's quickly, I need you to, let's talk about how prepare we for the presidential election.
Well, as a party, the National Conscience Party is prepared. As a government, I'm not sure the government is prepared. As INEC, it is a little bit obvious that INEC is not very prepared. It's unfortunate that INEC has had the opportunity to learn in 1999, 2003, 2007, 2011. And with all these major opportunities to learn, if INEC were a high-performance organization, it would have learned so well with all these opportunities and experiences that nothing should surprise INEC by now. But it's unfortunate that we have seen an INEC that's having challenges with distributing PVCs, having challenges with maintaining its own records, having challenges with conducting free and fair elections. If we look at the last Anambra elections, we're going to find out that only about 20% voter turnout. Not because the voters did not actually come to vote, but they were disenfranchised. And all the TV crews were there, and the people were saying, this is my, they wouldn't let me vote. All because of the inadequacy and irregularities in the INEC voter registration records. So INEC has had enough opportunity.
Is that the reason why you say INEC is not prepared for this election?
Well,
some of these issues that you cited.
Yes, even the National Security Advisor has said INEC needs more time. And that the election should be postponed. So I'm not the only one. The National Security Advisor also represents government.
So are you
So you find out that the
subscribing to
same
that?
government, no. I think that INEC, don't forget what I said. If INEC didn't get its act in order in 1999, 2003, 2007, 2011, it looks like INEC perpetually, deliberately doesn't want to get its act in order. Because it gives it an opportunity to also manipulate the results in favor of the ruling party. That's clear to me. That's not what the National Security Advisor said. He just said INEC should get more time. And I'm saying more time they have been learning since 1999. When will they learn? That's my position. So it's that INEC deliberately refuses to learn such that it can utilize these irregularities that itself creates to influence or manipulate the outcome of the elections. That's clear.
But as it is now, of course, the election is around the corner, and INEC is not ready to shift his ground, talking about shifting or postponing the date of election from February 14. So, as it is now, what are some of the things we can really put in order? Or do you see INEC putting in order before the coming election?
Don't forget that I said I think it's deliberate. That's my position. I cannot see how it is impossible. What is a voters register? A record of voters. That's what a voters register is. It is not more complicated than that. Mr. Tunde Okeke, date of birth, constituency. That's what you need. It's the data of the voter. And when he comes, you accredit him based on his data and on his voter's card, and then he votes. Ordinary distribution of PVCs, INEC can make a simple plan. So it's not because of incapacity. I think it is deliberate.
But do you think that can really have a negative impact on, on the success of the election?
Definitely. Most definitely. if you said only 20% of the voters, registered voters, determined who became governor in Anambra, then it's obvious that the other 80% you disenfranchised may have voted otherwise.
Okay.
Do you understand? Mm-hmm. So maybe if they had voted, maybe the outcome would have been different. Mm. And this is the same INEC that has, in the past, deliberately manipulated collations and collated falsely, like in the same Anambra, when P2B was rigged out with a fraudulent collation done by INEC.
All right. Nobody
was punished by that, for that. That is one of the highest offenses you can commit against a country, to rig elections. But all that happened in 99, 2003, 2007, and there's no consequence. Those results were signed by people. Those people got away with it. You won the election, they declared that I won, and they signed it. And they issued me a certificate of return. And they got away with it. So what does that tell you? And that's why I say that I have previously described INEC as the field elections committee of the ruling party. That's what they are. And we must confront the INEC problem if we want a legitimate government in place. Because as long as we don't respect the rule of law and the integrity of the ballot, then it's not a democracy. It's worse than a military coup. It is much worse. And that is what we have had consistently. And we seem to have accepted it. And it's unacceptable.
Yeah, but it seems that nobody is really talking. You belong to National Conscience Party, and of course, you emerge as a presidential candidate. You'll be participating. There seems, you are saying it now, but there seems to be a few voices around this.
Well, we said this in 99.
Okay.
Everybody has said it. For example, more recently, the Cardinal Archbishop of Abuja said the same thing. That since 1999, we have never had a free and fair election. And that he hopes that this is an opportunity for us to establish a legitimate government. Because the government cannot be legitimate when it rigs itself in. The government is only legitimate when it is chosen by the people, freely and fairly. And with the way the election is going right now, we have seen the efforts to pre-rig the elections.
So what you're saying is that you're foreseeing a situation where INEC could be used by the government on the day to rig the election, or whichever.
No, I'm foreseeing a situation, not even foreseeing. We are seeing a situation where INEC has openly, with impunity, refused to enforce election finance limits, as in the Electoral Act Section 91. We have seen that. Is that a secret? Section 91 of the Electoral Act is very clear about election finance. One of which is that no individual or group should donate more than 1 million to a candidate.
Okay.
But the Commander-in-Chief announced groups that gave him 4.5 billion. Now, the first thing is that assume that the groups are legitimate and their funds are legitimate. They cannot even give it by law. That's number one. Number two is that we know that these groups are neither legitimate, neither is the source of funds legitimate. We know that. Everybody knows that. Why are we tolerating it?
Although PDP has come out to defend its position on that fund, that fund really belongs to the party, building the secretariat and all of that.
No, but that's false, because number one, we know they have built their secretariat. Number two, we know it was a presidential campaign fundraising, so they can't change what it was, because they had previously announced it was a presidential campaign fundraising. The reality is that INEC is not independent. INEC leadership is appointed by the ruling party, contrary to the recommendation of the government's own Honorable Justice Mohammed Owai's Electoral Reform Committee report. It is not opposition parties that set up the Owai's committee. It is the government that set up the Owai's committee. And the Owai's committee says you cannot be playing in a football match and appoint the referee. Common sense. But the ruling party insisted.
Okay.
And for over 5 years since that report has been in place, it has not been implemented. Now, we have a situation where the commander-in-chief is in control of security forces, which are critical to electoral success. At the same time, the same commander-in-chief, who is a candidate in the election, appointed the referee. And that's why you have these irregularities that have become established and are being perpetuated with impunity. And as long as we want development in this country, we must do the right things. If we continue to do the wrong things, we're going to continue to get the wrong results. So it's up to us as Nigerian people to resist these deviations and these attacks on our sovereignty as a people.
Okay, should the election now, because you're seeing a situation where INEC might rig the election.
I'm seeing a situation where INEC has consistently, since 1999, misrepresented the will of the Nigerian people.
Okay, fine.
Deliberately.
In this coming election now, which is very, very important, you happen to be your party, the presidential candidate of your party.
Yes.
Should the election turn out the other way or in your favor, what will be your reaction?
Well, the first thing is that we have never cheated.
Okay.
We do not plan to cheat. We think it is dishonorable to cheat. We think it cannot lead to national development if we cheat. It's also against the law to cheat. So that needs to be clear. So if the election turns out in our favor, it would have turned out fairly in our favor. Okay. Because we're not cheating. Yeah, well, and we're now saying that, excuse me, sir, excuse me, sir. We're now saying that INEC, being the referee, should give a red card to those who deserve a red card. It's very simple. It's not too late. And if the media, which you belong to, will play its constitutional role as the fourth arm of government, then maybe a lot of these things won't happen. That's the reality. So you must also accept some responsibility for your own class. Because the constitution gives you that responsibility. I didn't give you the responsibility.
Of course.
The constitution gave it to you as the watchdog. And you're watching, and these things are happening. So,
well, of course, the media will still do what he has to do ahead of the general election.
So why is it that I'm the one talking about violations of the law?
But that's
you are supposed to highlight it. Why am I the one? I'm partisan. I'm partisan. You are supposed to be neutral. So you're supposed to highlight the violations of the law.
I'm just asking question here. I'm not supporting any.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm not supporting anything. I'm just asking question and looking at your opinion. But then let's move away from that now. We'll come back to your party. But of course, the peace accord that has been signed by all the political parties, talking about those participating in the presidential candidate, of which your party. What is your take on that peace accord?
Well, the peace accord is a normal Nigerian government self-deceit. It's a facade. The laws of Nigeria are very clear. Violence is forbidden by our laws. Therefore, if we are honorable people, we will comply with our laws. And if anyone deviates, then the system should, our law enforcement systems should function properly and sanction, prosecute, or whatever the law dictates against those who cause such violations. But let me tell you how hypocritical that agreement is.
All right.
The ruling party is notorious for violence. In their primaries in Bayelsa, people were killed in their own internal primaries. In their primaries in Kwara, many people were killed, multiple fatalities, internal primaries. So they can't say it's NCP. It's their own internal primaries. Okay. In their primaries in Kwara, many people were killed. Now, instead of INEC to call the party leadership and say this is intolerable, you seem not to have forbidden violence in your political party. And your members are so violent that they're killing each other in primaries. We will not take this from you. We will deregister you. This is against the law. INEC now deceitfully calls all parties together, trying to pass the blame to the innocent people, instead of identifying the culprit and calling the culprit to order. 3 different states, and that's the ones I know, that were reported.
All right.
Not the ones I don't know. So it's possible that it happened in 10 different states, in the same political party. In my primaries, my opponents congratulated me. Did you hear that he slapped anybody? None of our members will dare go violent, because we will discipline that member. But we don't have control over members of the ruling party who are very violent, who have consistently been violent with the support of INEC. And the National Security Advisor is a collaborator. The Office of the National Security Advisor is collaborating, because the Office of the National Security Advisor has all this data.
Okay.
And went to participate in the so-called peace accord, which in itself is abdication of responsibility.
Are you saying it's really not working? It's a failed accord? Is that what you're saying?
No, I haven't said that.
Okay.
Should we talk about political violence? Yes. Should we stop at talking? No, because that's why I say it's hypocritical.
Okay.
That's what I said. There's nothing wrong with to sign a peace accord, but I'm saying that the laws are already in place. Do you need a peace accord to enforce laws of a country?
The other time, on Thursday, there was an attack on the PDP's campaign team in Bauchi, and also in some other different parts of the country. Even there was also a report of attack on APC secretariat as well, somewhere in Lagos, and even APC campaign team
a court
in Lagos
handling
as well.
a contentious political case in Rivers was bombed.
So we are looking at all of these. Does it give you a concern that this might make people stay back at home, because it's like building up to the election? Does it give you any concern or fear?
Oh, definitely. But don't forget that all this violence is not only tolerated by INEC and the Office of National Security Advisor, it's also instigated.
Okay.
It's instigated. People may spontaneously stone a candidate they don't like.
All right.
But that is why normally when any particular party is going on a campaign activity, it is supposed to notify law enforcement to manage some of those kind of deviations. But a lot of what you see is deliberately sponsored.
All right.
In other words, I being a politician, I will keep the rules. My opponent being a less ethical politician,
okay,
he will go and recruit some miscreants,
okay, and
ask them to stone Martin when he comes around, to make it look like Martin is unpopular. So those things happen. A lot of it is sponsored. If the Office of National Security Advisor were living up to its responsibility, a lot of that can be prevented from happening. That's number one. Number two, when it happens, the sponsors can be traced if it were doing its duty. But it's not doing its duty.
But yeah, like you said, as it is, the sponsors can be traced. But
yes,
as it is, nobody has been brought
exactly. That's the same thing I'm saying. And we have talked about primaries. You see, security is more sophisticated than what we're doing in Nigeria because we've politicized everything. Normally, organizations that show this kind of tendencies should be infiltrated by security.
Well, I think we just have to hold you there, and a whole lot to talk about your party. You have some policies that are just going through here now. We're going to talk about that, but let's quickly take a break now. When we come back, of course, the National Conscience Party presidential candidate is still in the house, in the studio with me here, talking about Chief Martins Onovo. We'll be back after this short break. Join us again.
Has it been a difficult task for you to purchase exquisite, classic, durable and sturdy furniture that will last the test of time? Here is good news for you. Purchase high-quality furniture for your household, offices, hotels and schools at Prince Interior Furnishing and Furniture Company Limited. Office address, Goshen Plaza, Showroom 28, Kubo Furniture Market, AYA, Nyanya Road, Abuja. Telephone 0803-119-1444 or 09291-7482. Email princeemeka240@yahoo.com. info@princeinterior.com. Website www.princeinterior.com. Purchase your furniture at Prince Interior Furnishing and Furniture Company Limited. Classic, strong, exquisite.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digi360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Glad to have you join us on another edition of The Political Arena, the most detailed and incisive political show.
You will see all sorts of politicians, even those who cannot manage their homes. We tell you to let them manage your lives. Look well, shine your eyes.
So stomach infrastructure is a way of life. Even if I cannot do anything, and I continue to help your stomach so that your life will keep on going. So My style is without apology. Stomach infrastructure is a way of life for me.
I should ask you, what is going right in this country? Is it education? Is it security? Infrastructure? Is it healthcare? What is going right? Absolutely nothing.
We mean to win Lagos. PDP is going to win Lagos in 2015. And that means that everybody must be on board.
INEC has colluded with the presidency, the opposing party to rig this election from the data to the end.
The successful conduct of free, fair, and peaceful elections in Ekiti is a good omen for the subsequent elections to come, and the 2015 general elections must be the best.
The good, bad, ugly, and beautiful sides of the Nigerian political system. Join me every Sunday at 9:15 p.m. on Core TV News.
Martin Sunovo, NCP presidential candidate in the House. Thank you for being there. Well, let's quickly take a look at your party. Let's move away from some of the issues we're discussing now. Your party seems to be talking about abolition of poverty every now and then. Is that exactly what you represent?
Yes. First thing is that the NCP is the oldest party in Nigeria. Many people don't know that. The ruling party, for example, was founded in 1998. The National Conscience Party was founded in 1994 by Chief Gani Fahimi, SAM, LLD. The National Conscience Party was founded in defiance of the military ban on political activities. It was a product of the very popular struggles that we waged against abuse of power, injustice, and lawlessness in Nigeria. And you can see that those things have continued. Abuse of power, injustice, and lawlessness. So the relevance of our party becomes even more pronounced. Why is our motto abolition of poverty? All over the world, including United Nations studies and domestic studies, it is known that Nigeria clearly is one of the most gifted countries in terms of resource. Gifted in the sense of God who created the world, putting so much resources, human and material, in a particular environment called Nigeria. We have a very brilliant people. We have a sizable number of people, over 200 million in actuality. We have natural resources. We have a very good agricultural lands. And all we need, an excellent climate, no snow, adequate sunlight, and all that anyone will be wishful and desirous, any country will be wishful and desirous to have. And we know that if these things are properly managed, there cannot be poverty in Nigeria. And interestingly, a member of the ruling party and the former president of Nigeria, General Obasanjo, said exactly the same thing. That there is no reason for any Nigerian to be poor. And we know that in many countries, specifically oil-producing countries, no one is poor. In very many. Where if you don't have a job, you get unemployment benefits and all those kind of things. So we know that this is possible in Nigeria. We also know that the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime said that since independence, over $600 billion has been stolen from Nigeria by public officials. Now look at that amount. With half of that amount, no one can be poor in Nigeria.
Okay, you of course, you talk about your party and how you intend to abolish poverty and some of these issues. But you, as a presidential candidate of your party, I'm sure you have plans and manifestos.
Oh, sure.
And when I look at it, I saw power and insecurity. What are some of these things that you are bringing on board? What are the different things that you think you are a different idea about power, about abolishing, bringing business and all of that into Nigeria?
Okay, specifically, our candidacy first represents our party, which constitutionally is our sponsor.
Okay.
My vice president is Alhaji Muhammad Ibrahim, my vice presidential candidate. He's from Kebbi State. We have made a few promises to our people outside the ones our party has made. Our party has said, this 10-care program is what we propose to the Nigerian people. That is what we offer the Nigerian people. And that 10-care program has employment, housing, food security, has telecommunications, education, all the others on it. And we said, if these are properly implemented in line with our accelerated development agenda, poverty will be abolished. Okay. For example, to abolish the poverty of an individual, one individual, if he has a good job and earns a good remuneration, his poverty is abolished as an individual.
Okay.
So it's that simple. And we're saying that if we have all these programs in place in line with our 10-care program as a party, we will abolish poverty. In addition to the 10-care program that our party proposes, our candidacy, Alhaji Muhammad Ibrahim and myself, we have said that we will do 5 things in addition. First is that we will lead by example. Second is that we will do what is right. Third is that we will double power levels in 2.5 years with about $9 billion.
Okay.
With about we are specific. We have given a timeline. 2.5 years, $9 billion. Now, the ruling party, according to the Financial Intelligence Magazine report, has spent $51 billion since 1999 and could not even increase power by 20%.
Okay.
With all that money. We're now saying, look at the difference in efficiency. Okay. We're now saying with only $9 billion, then in 2.5 years, we will double power. When we double power, it will still be inadequate. Because doubling power now is going to 6,000 plus.
All right.
When Vision 2020 is 40,000. Because we're just at 3,000 plus, which is the level where we were in 1999. So when we say that the ruling party has failed, the data is there for anybody who's objective. In 1999, when they came in, it was about 3,000. Today, 15, 16 years down the road, it's still about 3,000. So we're saying, if this is acceptable to Nigerian people, they should support the ruling party. If it's not acceptable to them, there are 14 other parties that have sponsored candidates for the presidency. We're only one of the 14. They should do an evaluation and choose who can serve them better. Another promise we have made is that we will reduce fuel price. Now, not like what the government has done, which is political and deceitful.
All right.
And after the elections, it will do something more nefarious. We have said that we will reduce it by increasing domestic refining, which will reduce the cost of the PMS in itself. All the fuels. If you increase domestic refining, you remove all the wastages associated with the importation of what you produce. So when we tell you what we're going to do, we tell you how we're going to do it. And if we do that, in today's economic reality, it will sell for about 48 naira per liter. Not the 87 they have proposed.
Okay. Let me ask you this question.
Can I talk about another promise? Because I've talked about 4 of them. There's just one more.
Okay, there's just one more.
There's just one more.
All right.
The other promise we have made is that we will increase minimum wage by reducing maximum wage.
How do you intend to do that?
Very simple. If you increase across the board, it will have an inflationary impact because the wage bill will increase.
All right.
So more cash chasing the same number of goods. So typical inflation scenario. We have said, because we understand 2 critical facts, that the minimum wage cannot be acceptable as a survival wage. That's number 1. Number 2, that the maximum wage is outrageously over-bloated and is in itself very sinful.
Okay.
I'm watching my choice of words. It is sinful. As president, I am not going to end that maximum wage. It is sinful to earn it.
Okay.
So I'm going to decrease it to something more reasonable, and that will go down the line. And what we get out of that is what we're going to use to boost the minimum wage. So the wage level will be constant, but it will be redistributed in a much fairer way. Let me give you an example to show you how graphic it is. In the US, minimum wage is about $10,000 per annum. The American president earns $400,000 per annum. That's 40 times minimum wage. 40 times.
Okay.
In Nigeria, minimum wage is 18,000 naira per month, which is about 216,000 naira per annum. A senator, according to the report published by the Financial Intelligence Magazine, earns about 1,500 times minimum wage. So you see the disparity.
Okay.
So what we're saying is that this outrageous, over-bloated compensation for political office holders need to be controlled. It needs to be reduced specifically in such a way that the minimum wage can come up and the inequality index can be compressed.
You know, most politicians, it's been in the record over time that some of them, they canvass, they campaign with some promises. And then when they get there, the story becomes different.
Excellent.
You know.
Please let me talk about it.
So I want to take you on that. Some of these issues you're talking about, even you say you're going to crash the maximum wage down to it go down the line. Now, are you not just being, will I say, political or
let me answer you. I know where you're going already. I tell you one thing. Typically, when a candidate emerges, a candidate like me, I went to primary school here. I went to secondary school here. I went to university here. I only went to the University of Houston, Texas, for a master's degree. My bachelor's degree is actually from the University of Ibadan. So, all this while, I grew up here and had classmates here. If I am dishonest, they will know. I have worked in the oil industry here for over 22 years. I've had colleagues. If I'm dishonest, they will know. The first thing Nigerians need to do is go and do their own private evaluations, both on the character of the candidate and on the feasibility of the promises. Let's talk about the power that we said we're going to double. When we were doing the estimate for the cost of doubling power, we used the international benchmark, and we found out that it will cost us less than that $9 billion. But we said Nigerians may not believe us, because over the years they have been convinced, deceived to believe that solution to the power problem is mystical, which is false. Because in this same Nigeria, in the oil and gas industry, we power ourselves. And we don't have up NEPA.
All right.
Let me answer the question. Let me answer the question.
Because that was where I was actually going to ask you. You said 9 billion.
No, excuse me, sir.
And the federal government, you said the federal government spent about 51 billion.
I have quoted a report. The Financial Intelligence Magazine report.
Okay.
I'm not the Accountant General of the federal government.
Okay.
I've quoted a report.
A report.
The Financial Intelligence Magazine report says that since 1999, the federal government of Nigeria, under the ruling party, has spent $51 billion on power. Yes. And you and I remember the $17 billion power probe of 2007.
Of course, if that report is true, and then your party is saying, you are saying that we're going to spend, you are going to spend $9 billion in 2.5 years to double
power.
Isn't that being aggressive and being unrealistic?
No, because you don't know. The first thing is that I'm a world-class engineer. I've worked in the US, I've worked in Europe, I've worked in Nigeria.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two is not just being a world-class engineer. I'm a registered engineer. I'm an authority in engineering. By Nigerian law. I'm a registered engineer.
Okay.
The third thing is that I've been practicing engineering all across the world for over 22 years.
Okay.
Now, in addition, I'm telling you that it will cost us even less based on our own estimates. But why did we use $9 billion? We anticipated your question. We know that Nigerians have been deceived to believe that this is an impossible task. We know that. So what we did was we used the National Electricity Regulatory Commission rates to do the estimate. Not our own rates. Not the world class rule of thumb. We didn't use those ones. We used the government rates to do the estimates. The National Electricity Regulatory Commission says it's $1.5 billion per 1,000 megawatts. So for 3,000, that's only $4.5 billion for generation.
Okay.
Then the other 4.5 will apply to transmission and distribution. That's the estimate we have done. So we have even used government rates to do the estimate. So for you to say, is it really true? It means you don't even understand the root cause of the Nigerian problem. It's leadership corruption. Just like the 2007 power probe confirmed. Now, all over the world, other countries do power projects. In Senegal, power is stable. In Ghana, power is stable. South Africa, over 40 million people. They have over 36,000 megawatts. What is Nigeria doing with 3,000 megawatts? So until people like you identify that the root cause of this problem is not mystical, it is leadership corruption, it becomes easy for us to solve it. Because when you go to a doctor, he first does the diagnosis. The correct diagnosis that the problem with Nigeria is the corrupt leadership, the illegitimate and corrupt leadership. So the simple solution is to change that leadership and vote in an NCP government. Now, the incumbent promised the second Niger bridge in 2010. He has gone to repeat the same promise.
We'll come to that. Let me quickly talk to the audience now. Martin Sonovo is NCP presidential candidate. You can just call in now. Of course, ask questions. If you have questions, you have contribution, just make your contribution. Keep your contributions coming in on the program here. But I know you're going to Nigeria, but I want us to talk about...
no, I want to talk about it because you are talking about false promises.
Okay.
Now, I challenge you to tell me what false promises
Let's quickly pick up this call. Tochukwu calling from Anambra. Hello, Tochukwu.
Hello?
Hello, Tochukwu.
Okay, hello.
Yeah, good morning. Go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning to your guests over there.
Good morning, Tochukwu.
I want to say very quickly that I think that Nigerians, observers, we tend to believe politicians more when they come up to tell us, first of all, from what they think they can do. But when you come up first and start first from condemning or opposing every little thing the ruling party has done, whether it's APC or any other party, and as a politician, you start first from condemning everything or opposing everything they have done, Nigerians tend to see you as a usual commercial politician who is giving more to I will do, without saying how. Having said that, I think it is more encouraging for us to focus rather on how to create jobs. If you say you're going to create it, will you create these jobs from the agri sector? Are you going to empower the automobile sector? How? The issue here is how to do it. Because as Nigerians, we have a lot of promises. Some people can give you a fantastic idea that you would even become emotional. So, and again, I want to disagree with your guest there when he says good salary would eradicate poverty. I don't believe that. Good salary doesn't eradicate poverty. Rather, good institutions built on equity and justice. And finally, there is this report that the media houses are always show graphically, I think called TV inclusive, when you show images of how the president was attacked by some angry youth. I think,
yeah, Tochukwu, I think you've made your points there. We'll have to let you go now.
Hello?
Yeah, we'll have to let you go now. I think you've made a very good point.
Okay, please, this message is very important. Very important. There is this message I want to pass across.
Yeah, just be brief, please.
Okay, please. This report, whenever graphical images are shown about how the president is attacked, I think the media should accompany it with a message to deter people from repeating such elsewhere. Because the implication of showing it, remember it is done in a particular part of country. The implication of showing it, it raises an emotional issue for other side who perhaps may think that they could also do same to a particular country when it comes over to the other side. I don't know if you understand. So the media should try to accompany it with a message anytime they show such images that people shouldn't please repeat such as a retaliatory measure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tochukwu from Anambra. Yes, he talked about how are you going to do that? You talk about job. Are you going to create it from agriculture? That's the question from Tochukwu.
Well, the first thing is we must correct Tochukwu's false premises. Tochukwu, you said you're calling from Anambra. Can you drive on the second Niger bridge you were promised in 2010? Answer that question honestly, and then we can listen to you. Because the evil in Nigeria is sustained by the support of some people. If politician A has made you a false promise, why are you not holding him responsible? Instead, you want to condemn every politician. You have to identify the politician that made you a false promise and condemn that one. And you cannot say that false promises are good, because that will mean that your moral disposition is questionable. False promises are morally wrong, and politicians should not make false promises. And you, Tochukwu, should blame the politician that made you a false promise, not blame every politician, because you must accept politicians, unless you don't want democracy.
Or maybe Tochukwu is trying to say all politicians are liars.
Yes, maybe that's what he's trying to say, but that cannot be the same, because you can't even say that twins are always the same.
Okay.
It's just like saying all business people are liars. He should be more thorough to identify which politician lied to him and call that one a liar and not say all politicians are liars. That's lazy. So that's my first reply to him. Secondly, we have not talked about job creation, so I don't know, you're not listening. We talked about power, we talked about fuel price reduction, we talked about doubling power, and we also talked about increasing minimum wage by reducing maximum wage. And you also did not listen properly when we talked about abolishing the poverty of one individual. We said one individual, properly employed, adequately remunerated, has left poverty.
Okay,
that's what we say.
Benzek. Hello, Benzek, good morning. Go ahead with your contribution.
What I want to... Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Go ahead.
Yes.
Make your contribution.
What I want
brief,
to
please.
say in addition to the last caller is...
Go ahead, please. Hello, Benzek.
Now, and all these arguments will not help us. What we should be doing is to look for the possible solution. For instance, all that Mr. President promised that has been doing since he entered into power has been achieved. For instance, hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Make it brief, please, Benzek.
Hello?
Hello? I
Yes.
guess Tochukwu is
For instance, when
Benzek is not
Obasanjo
getting us.
entered power, he introduced GSM for us. And this GSM has given a lot of Nigerians job opportunities. Now we are talking about railway, which Jonathan said, which ADP said he has put in place. If you look at railway has been existing. It only required rehabilitation. So let us just call a spade a spade. Even this president admitted that they have not been doing what they're supposed to do.
Okay,
So
thank you very much,
not-
Benzek. We have to let you go now. Thank you very much for calling in to make your contribution. Now, but maybe, I think he talked about job as well. Maybe we need to talk about job.
Excellent.
How do you intend to, your party, how do you intend to create this job?
The first
Is it
thing
from the
about
agricultural sector, just like Tochukwu asked?
The very first thing we intend to do about creating jobs is this idea of doubling power, so that those who have skills, who are hindered by the lack of power, can have the power to utilize their skills. We are talking about industrial organizations. Don't forget, many of them left Nigeria because of the power problem. We are talking about even small artisans, welders, barbers, hairdressers, ice block distributors. So a lot of these people need power. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has identified power as the biggest challenge to manufacturing. Now, and they say their current capacity utilization is 30-something%. Imagine they have power and they double their capacity utilization. How many more new jobs can they get? So the very first thing is that we must provide power for this economy to grow. That's number one. Number two is that agriculture has the capacity to take on so many of the unemployed. We have to address all the root cause issues why we do not have additional and a quantum leap in agricultural activity. And we're insisting on mechanized agriculture. Now, once you achieve that and you have power, the downstream agric industry too will grow and it will employ people. Thirdly is that we must promote small and medium scale enterprises. That is very, very critical. Because if you look at Asia, for example...
Let's quickly take a look, take this call. Ali, go ahead and make your contribution brief now. We have to go now. Please make it straight to the point. Hello?
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Go ahead with your contribution, quickly.
Some of Nigeria is insecurity. Most of our leaders are not sincere on their promises to the electorate. I want to ask Mr. Onovo, how sincere is your party to the promises you are making to Nigerians? Secondly, what are your programs?
Okay, I think that's the question. Thank you very much, Ali, for calling there. That's the question. We have to let you go now. We have to let you go.
Nations within Nigeria. Because if you look at it, what is happening within the...
We have to let you go there now. Thank you very much. The question is, how sincere with all these promises? I think this is where we'll be rounding up this segment. How sincere is your party with all these promises?
Well, Ali, I must thank you for asking this question. This question is evidence that you have deep insight into the problem with Nigeria. The problem with Nigeria is the integrity of the leadership that is lacking. Because you were promised power in 2003, 2006, 2010, and here we are in 2015. Those promises, Ali, you have to make your personal evaluation of the candidates. Identify who you think is sincere based on your fair assessment of the candidates. There are candidates that you will know are lying. One candidate promised 1 million houses per year. Assume that those houses cost 2 million each. I don't know how you can build a flat for less than 2 million. Assume 2 million. Every year he has promised 1 million houses. That is 2 trillion on housing alone. Nigeria cannot afford 2 trillion on housing based on a budget of 4.5 trillion. So you see, there is already a false promise he has made. Maybe it was not false, but he's incompetent. He didn't do an assessment. But we have done an assessment, and we have made promises that cannot be disputed by any knowledgeable person. That's number one. Number two is that we have integrity from our founder, Chief Gani Fawehinmi, which we have historically maintained. And our legacy has not been tainted and will not allow anybody to taint it. So, about the integrity of our promises, we signed our campaign speech and we distributed it to all the media houses that attended our public presentation as candidates, Mohammed Ibrahim and myself. We have a signed campaign speech and we issued it out to everybody. You can get a copy of that campaign speech, and we dare you that we have under-promised because we know we can over-deliver. That is the level of integrity we want to maintain. We have under-promised because we know we can over-deliver. It is deliberate to protect our integrity. Well, thank you, Ali, for that beautiful question.
Well, Chief Martin Sonovo, we have to go now. But in one word now, what do you see play out in the presidential election?
Well, the only thing that can play out is either we have an illegitimate government that has imposed itself on us, or we have a legitimate government that has been chosen by the people, for which the people will accept responsibility, whether it's good or bad. That's the only possibility. And we must make sure that we enforce all our electoral laws to make sure that the government that is coming is not an illegitimate government.
Well, on this note, I must thank you for coming on the show. So it's been a wonderful time with you, sir.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you very much.
Well, that's where we round it up on this segment now. We'll take a break now. When we come back, our business round-off will be coming up with Sabena Izopo. Stay with us.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digi360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Glad to have you join us on another edition of The Political Arena, the most detailed and incisive political show.
You will see all sorts of politicians, even those who cannot manage their homes. We tell you to let them manage your lives. Look well. Shine your eyes.
So stomach infrastructure is a way of life. Even if I cannot do anything, and I continue to help your stomach so that your life will keep on going. So my style is without apology. Stomach infrastructure is a way of life for me.
I should ask you, what is going right in this country? Is it education? Is it security? Infrastructure? Is it healthcare? What is going right? Absolutely nothing.
We mean to win Lagos. PDP is going to win Lagos in 2015. And that means that everybody must be on board.
INEC has colluded with the presidency, the opposing party, to rig this election from the data to the end.
The successful conduct of free, fair, and peaceful elections in Ekiti is a good omen for the subsequent elections to come, and the 2015 general elections must be the best.
The good, bad, ugly, and beautiful sides of the Nigerian political system. Join me every Sunday at 9:15 p.m. on Core TV News.